What can almost immediately kill you that most people don't know of? Smoke inhalation in a house fire can kill you in as little as 2 minutes. It's extremely important that you get as low as possible when evacuating your home to minimize your exposure. Most people know that smoke is dangerous, but they don't realize that you can die from inhaling it in such a short period of time. Next story. Not that it will immediately kill you, but I learned about people stranded in snowstorms, let's say on the highway, who don't know you need to keep snow clear of your tailpipe or it'll start filling the car with carbon monoxide. I randomly learned about it reading a novel and had no idea, and now every few years I read about a death because of it. Some tips for getting stuck in a snowstorm. First, do not run your car for a long time if you're stuck in the snow. Not just because you can die from carbon monoxide, but also because you need to conserve gas. Instead, run your car for an hour at a time at most to heat up the interior, charge your phone, and listen to the radio to get updates. Second, keep trying your cell phone. Call 911 over and over again, even if you don't have service. Your phone will connect to other towers if they're available if it's a 911 call. Keep calling. There's a chance your call will go through. When your car isn't running, get out and clear snow away from the air intake, usually the front grille area, and the exhaust. Make sure there's a clear path for both. If your intake gets clogged, your engine will die and you won't be able to start your car again. If your exhaust gets clogged, you can die from carbon monoxide poisoning. If you have a CB radio, don't stop transmitting your location and asking for help. You're much more likely to find someone via radio than via phone, especially if you don't have phone service. Finally, stay with your vehicle. A car is a lot easier to spot in the snow than a person. While you're not running the engine, run your hazards if you hear nearby activity. Blinking lights on a car-sized object will draw attention to you. So will honking the horn if you hear people nearby. Not to mention, your car is your lifeline for heat, shelter, and information via the radio. The only reason you should leave your car if you're stuck during a snowstorm is if there's an immediate threat to your life. Next story. Listen to me good. If you see someone go into a confined, poorly ventilated space and they don't come out, do not go in after them. If there's some sort of toxic chemical buildup, it'll knock you out long before you get a chance to help the other person. I've heard multiple stories where 4 or 5 people died because they kept following each other into septic pits and whatnot. Toxic gas buildup can get you very, very quickly. Next story. Cone snails. So many people see a pretty seashell, pick it up, feel a tiny pinch that they don't think much of, and then die. There's no antidote, and the best anyone can do is make sure you're out of the water. It causes paralysis, so a lot of people die by drowning, and keep you breathing long enough for your body to metabolize it as best as it can. It's going to be hideously painful the entire time, though. If you make it through, you're probably going to end up with a lot of pain for a very long time, and never quite be the same after. Edit. I get it. So many seems like way too much for how rarely it actually happens, but for how out of nowhere it seems like, even just a few seems like a lot. People walk on beaches and pick up shells every day without thinking about how it could be their last, and have no idea it could be dangerous at all. If someone's use of so many is your hill to die on, may I suggest going outside, getting some fresh air, touching grass, maybe heading to the beach and picking up a few seashells? No, OP, I'll take your word for it. The beach is a scary place. As fun as it is, man, there are so many unknown hazards out there. Next story. Mixing different cleaning products, as in products for bathrooms, floors, and stuff. Some of these contain very aggressive crap, and some of it does indeed react with each other on a chemical basis. Especially bleach is a no-no for mixing. Chlorine gas is easier to accidentally create than you'd probably think, and if you don't realize what you've just done, you could be dead a lot quicker than you want it to be. A clean bathroom won't help you then. Next story. I got a bacteria on my foot about 3 months ago, which went into my bloodstream and got into my heart. I died in the OR and had to be revived before a 10-hour surgery to replace and repair 3 heart valves and a large hole in my heart. 3 weeks in ICU, 2 weeks in cardio ward after that. Don't let little infections become big infections. I had no idea this was happening in my body, but on the 3rd day of not getting out of bed because I was so tired, we called 911. Next story. Pulmonary embolism. Girlfriend came to visit after work and said she wasn't feeling well. I made some soup, gave her cold medicine, watched her favorite show with her, and sent her home to rest. Got a call from one of our friends the next morning saying she had died in the night. My mother, an RN, told me they're very difficult to spot and can kill very quickly. But years later, I'm still occasionally frustrated with myself. She was dying, and I made her soup. Anyway, hug the things you love. Next story. Sleeping with your phone connecting to a charger under your pillow. Had a friend get sent to the ER as their phone overheated and the battery exploded right under their face. It was bad as they had shrapnel of the battery enter into the left side of the brain that could have severed veins in the brain. Had to go into the emergency room to remove the shrapnel in the brain, along with some in their ear and neck. Doctors told them one piece was less than a quarter from the jugular as well, so they were literally close to death. Best practice is to place your phone and charger away from you, preferably on a nightstand or table, and not in your bed. Edit. I've read a lot of comments on this one and also want to point out in general from some comments. Mixing anything electrical with water is also something to be aware about. Never use anything that's electrical near water. This isn't just a phone charger near a bathtub. It's anything from hair dryers to toasters and more. Water and electricity don't mix, and you can literally shock yourself to death. Next story. Also, farm animals, horses, cows, things that look harmless and cuddly, but once they decide you're not allowed in their space, can turn deadly in a heartbeat. Their massive body weight alone is a pretty decent defense mechanism. Cows do like to trample things, alongside the flexibility of a horse's legs, for example. There's a lot of dumb ways to die from cute farm animals. Next story. Antifreeze. Everyone knows not to consume it, but if you get a good amount of it on your skin and don't wash it off immediately, it can kill your ass. A friend of mine lost a son 2 years ago. He was repairing a truck and the radiator hose bust. He got antifreeze all over himself. Unfortunately, the place he was working on the truck didn't have any facilities to wash up, so he had to just wipe it off all he could and finish up. 12 hours later, he was getting sick, and 48 hours later, he was dead. He was 42 and very healthy. His family is absolutely devastated. Y'all be careful. Yeah, I personally knew or know of 3 people that have antifreeze-related deaths. So yeah, this is the real deal. Absolutely horrible. That stuff is bad news. Next story. The ocean. A friend of mine died in 2 feet of surf when he turned his back on the waves and a bigger one came out, flipped him, and slammed his head into the packed sand. Never ever turn your back to the ocean. Next story. Prions. A close family friend died of this last year, and within a span of 6 months, he lost all memory and function and turned into a hateful person because he was scared, confused, and literally wouldn't recognize even his wife and kids. He lost the ability to walk and talk, and there was nothing anyone could do but watch it happen. He was an engineer before that, really smart guy. By the time they realized he had something going on and went to the doctor, 30% of his brain was gone, and the doctor was floored that he was still walking. The CDC wanted his body sent to them after to make sure it was disposed of properly and wouldn't contaminate anything and pass it on, but none of the airlines would fly him out and no crematories in the state would take him. They weren't allowed to just bury him. Finally, a veterinary crematory agreed to take him, and they closed down operations for the day to clean up and be as respectful as they could. Prions are literally a nightmare. Death isn't instant, but there's no coming back from it, and the decline is quick and awful. Next story. Poppers. Obviously, tons of people do them with no harm, but there's a condition called sudden sniffing death syndrome, which occurs when inhalants increase one's heart rate quickly and severely enough that it immediately impacts the cardiovascular system, resulting in heart failure and death. Sudden sniffing syndrome can occur the first time you use inhalants. In other words, not worth it. Next story. High humidity and high heat, also known as the wet bulb effect. It stops the body's natural ability to cool itself, and at the upper limits of extremes can kill within hours to even minutes. The Cave of Crystals in Nyaca, Chihuahua, Mexico, is one such place where these extremes exist. The environment is around 58 degrees Celsius / 136 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity of around 90 to 99%. Without specialized cooling equipment and suits, a person could die within a few minutes because they'd essentially drown in their own lungs. Next story. Helium balloons. Do not play play. Displace your oxygen in your lungs with another gas and you'll get hypoxia and forget to breathe because you won't feel starved of air because your lungs will be full. Loss of consciousness in less than 10 seconds. Brain damage and death to follow. Peaceful way to go, though. Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen this. It wasn't AI generated. It was a video that appeared on Twitter of someone that just went to town inhaling helium and had the squeaky voice or whatever for about 15 seconds and then just boom, drop dead. Horrible story, but yeah, this is absolutely nothing to play with. Next story. Fevers. Usually most people think 101 to 102 degrees can come down with acetaminophen. Cool, compress, and sleep. Had the flu one year, had a fever, went from the sweats to chills to sweats, took a Tylenol, laid down, woke up an hour or two later, sweating buckets, skin was on fire, took my temp 105.8, somehow drove to the ER, doctor was in disbelief how I made it there, said my organs were literally cooking, was insane how quick it spiked, and how bad I didn't feel. I was sick, but not drop dead sick. I almost went back to sleep. Glad I didn't. Next story. Stop ignoring that thing. You know exactly what I mean. The one that's been bothering you for a while? Just get it checked out. Do not ignore the thing. Next story. Low blood sugar can happen to type 1 a lot, but also can happen to type 2 after taking insulin. Many people don't realize that it's just as dangerous as having a high blood sugar. My grandfather got hospitalized because his blood sugar dropped to 16. Mixing cocaine with alcohol, a very common drug combination, yet increases your chance of a heart attack by 40 times. Getting reefed with electrolytes after being long deprived off of it for long enough, refeeding syndrome. Mixing rubbing alcohol with bleach, attacking a boar, their blows. Illegal U-turns, great cause for car accidents. Most fatal car accidents in Saudi Arabia resulted because of illegal U-turns. Next story, a blood clot. People don't realize how vital it is to move around and stretch every few hours. Sitting or standing in the same position all day allows blood and water to pool in areas like your lower legs. You don't have to be old or overweight. Anyone can get a blood clot. Stay hydrated and walk/stretch every few hours. Just improving your daily movement by 5 to 10 minutes a day does a world of difference for your body, especially your heart. It also lowers your BP and reduces any swelling you may have. My high school friend died from a blood clot to her lungs. She couldn't breathe, passed out, and died. It's nightmare fuel in my opinion. R.I.P. Janet. Next story. Toxic mushrooms. A lot of wild mushrooms look edible, but a single bite of the wrong species, like Death Cap or Destroying Angel, can shut down your liver and kidneys within days. By the time symptoms show up, the damage is often irreversible. Unless you're an expert mycologist, don't eat anything you forage. Cold river water inhalation/drowning. Even strong swimmers underestimate how fast cold water can trigger an involuntary gasp reflex. One unexpected mouthful of water in a current or after a slip can send water straight into your lungs and cause instant panic, leading to drowning within seconds. Always wear a life jacket and treat open water with respect, especially rivers with strong currents. Next story. Blanks. So many people think, there's no bullet, it's just a blank. When I teach gun safety, I will fire a blank at a piece of sheet steel left over from the barn as a demonstration to show that guns are not toys. The gases and wadding from a .38 blank will tear through a metal coffee can without a problem. Several actors have been killed playing around with blanks. Next story. Mercury. They're used in old thermometers. Since I do wear a Stetson, fur-felt cowboy hats come to mind. Mercury was also used to stiffen the hat and give its shape. Most vintage cowboy hats that are still around have a lot of mercury on them, especially the ones that came out during the Victorian era. The mercury made people mad, hence where Mad Hatter got its name. Thankfully, as time progressed, the use of hairspray and shellac was used to help stiffen the hat and give it its shape. Next story. Commotio cordis. A single impact to the chest at just the right moment can trigger fatal arrhythmia almost instantly. Also, poorly ventilated rooms with a gas leak can silently kill while you sleep, like what happened to a family's friend's son and his girlfriend. It's a silent killer that can go unnoticed until it's too late. Next story. I'm surprised I haven't seen this one in the thread, but slipping in the shower. You slip, hit the back of your head with the toilet, sink, or floor, and you're paralyzed or killed. Also underestimating large and especially fast bodies of water like rivers. One of my mom's friends went to a river even though her mother said it was dangerous due to the currents. She went into the water, got pulled, and became exhausted trying to fight the water and drowned. Next story. Cars. I mean, mean, most people know it on some level, but everybody acts as though they're safe. Whether you're in one or on the sidewalk near them, interacting with cars is by far the most dangerous thing the average person does on a daily basis. Next story. Being in between an MRI machine and something large and ferrous, or going in an MRI with a ferrous brain aneurysm clip. I was an MRI safety officer for decades and used to argue that our scanners could kill people quicker than anything else in the hospital to everyone who thought it was okay to just bypass our safety guidelines. Next story. Someone mentioned power lines, but they missed an important point. You don't have to actually touch the high voltage lines for it to kill you. If you get close enough, and that could be as far as a meter on very high voltage lines, the electricity will arc, bridge the air gap, and electrocute you. Stay very far away. Next story. I was alone with my children, and one night, I really didn't feel well. I went to check on the little ones, and they weren't really waking up. I called the fire brigade. Fortunately, the next day I called the repairman. Defective boiler and no detector. Next story. Off the top of my head, mixing certain medications in grapefruit/juice. Unsafe use of a ladder. Not properly securing your car when you're working on it. Improper maintenance on firearms. Next story. I heard a story once about a man killed when his garage door spring broke. Now I look at those springs with apprehension anytime I'm around them. Found this on a site just to verify it's real. Garage door spring accidents. Among the most prevalent and hazardous garage door injuries are those involving springs. Garage door springs are under immense tension, and any attempt at DIY maintenance or repair can lead to serious harm. These high-tension garage door torsion springs, just like extension springs, can snap suddenly, causing severe injuries to anyone nearby. Next story. Diabetic ketoacidosis leading to a coma and eventually death. Or low blood sugars leading to unconsciousness and, ultimately, death. Source: nearly died from DKA. Diabetes is a horrible, all-consuming condition. Next story. Splinters, scraping your knee on rocks, etc. Tetanus is a silent killer and isn't just found on rust. It's actually a bacteria that's found anywhere dirt, dust, and animal crap is found. They thrive in low oxygen, which is why you're most likely to get it from rust, since a dusty, empty building isn't exactly the epitome of high oxygen environment, but it can be gotten from something as simple as a splinter from a log. Next story. That throughout the South there's a brain-eating amoeba, Naegleria fowleri, quickly gaining ground and inhabiting regions that it didn't used to and spreading with global warming. It can infest any body of water, but especially still water like ponds, lakes, etc. It mainly occurs in areas where there's little to no water movement. We've had 2 cases in Oklahoma in the last 2 years. This used to be primarily a South Florida/Central America kind of thing. One of the reasons it's so deadly, with a near 95% fatality rate, is that it presents very similarly to the flu. This causes misdiagnoses and delays in treatment, which result in fatalities. Most health professionals now say if you or someone you love are rushed to the ER for an illness that looks like the flu on steroids, you need to tell them right away if they'd been swimming in a freshwater pond, lake, or slow-moving river or creek. The earlier they know to test for it, the better. A couple of children have been saved by this in Florida. Next story. Cold shock. Any kayakers, canoers, SUP, please look at coldwatersafety.org. Falling into 60-degree or colder water without a wetsuit or dry suit can sometimes trigger an irrepressible gasp reflex. If your head is underwater, you'll drown. If not, you may uncontrollably hyperventilate and will quickly become too weak to swim. Even a few feet, or hold on to your boat. The colder the water, the stronger the cold shock reflex. It's very worrying to see SUP paddlers in skimpy clothes and ice-cold water. Next story. The silent killer. High blood pressure, never checked, little exercise, sofa life, home to car to workplace, a sitting down job to home via car, a little jog at weekend, you get the picture. If it's you, take action now. Climb all or some stairs at work, walk lunchtimes, exercise at home. Next story. MRSA. Methicillin-resistant Streptococcus aureus. You have a zit or a scab or any small, teeny tiny open wound. You don't wash your hands after using the bathroom or blowing your nose. You touch the area with the wound. Wound becomes a small zit. No issue. You pop it thinking nothing of it. Opens the wound again, releasing the bacteria trapped inside and exposing it to more air, moisture, and bacteria, allowing propagation of bacteria. Zit gets bigger and deeper, but it has no head. You think, oh, I'll pop it again when it's ready. It's just a stubborn zit. Next day, you have a temp of 103 and the bump hurts more. Most people actually ignore this and just take meds. Now, sure, most of us will be fine, but then there's those who just so happen to allow staph and strep bacteria in, and we now have MRSA and don't know it. Your body walls off the infection, creating an abscess. Your white blood cells multiply to fight it and can't. Meds don't work. You feel worse. You finally say screw it and go to urgent care. They use a needle to pop it and collect the pus to sample it. You test positive for MRSA and are now on some of the most powerful antibiotics known to man. And you learn that had you contracted it and had anything else wrong with you, you likely would have died. If the infection reaches the blood, you're now septic and sitting in an ER getting 5 to 10 bags of liquid antibiotics pumped into you, while you hope it's the CA MRSA and not the HA, community associated instead of healthcare associated. 6 weeks later, the bump is finally gone. Unless you ignored it, then you're just dead, and it took a day and a half. Next story. Being injected with the wrong type of blood during a blood transplant, unless you're a universal receiver. If you've injected with the wrong blood type, it'll cause hemolysis. This can lead to shock, kidney failure, circulatory collapse, and death, of course. It's funny how severe just a simple little mess up from a doctor can be. Next story. Anything that's hiding a crap ton of potential energy, things like compressed springs in car struts, dock lines, or large ships, overfilled truck tires, etc., all can kill before the brain can process anything happened. I've seen too many live leak videos of dockhands being grievously injured or killed when a ship's line snaps or a bollard comes loose, suddenly relieved of literal tons of force. Next story. My grandfather died of an unchecked UTI. He was visiting the day before, completely full of life. He flew home that afternoon. The next morning, he collapsed and slipped into a coma because his system went septic. He died that night. I don't care if you think it's nothing. If it stings when you pee, go to a effing doctor. Next story. Not labeling your stuff. So, how can one tell at a glance that a white powder on your desk is salt, sugar, or flour? That's the cool part. You don't. Now, switch out these three with something like sodium hydroxide or potassium permanganate. That clear liquid could be water, sure. It could also be sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid. Another one is darkness. A fall can do more damage than you think, especially if it's in an unfamiliar location like a campsite. Next story. Never drink a beverage with dry ice. You would think, well, why would someone do that to begin with? Let me explain. Fancy cocktail lounges, mostly in big cities, have big, extravagant cocktail menus that specialize in dry ice. Most places know that these cocktails can be deadly if not prepared correctly. The dry ice is for presentation, to create a smoky display for their creation. However, even if the smallest piece of dry ice enters your drink and you drink it, you will most likely die. Dry ice is frozen carbon dioxide, CO2, and drinking or ingesting it can be extremely dangerous, even fatal, because of two main reasons. Severe internal freezing, cryogenic burns. Dry ice is extremely cold, negative 78.5 degrees Celsius or negative 109.3 degrees Fahrenheit. If swallowed or placed in the mouth, it can freeze the tissues of the mouth, throat, esophagus, and stomach instantly. This leads to severe internal burns, tissue death, perforation, holes in the stomach or esophagus, and potentially massive internal bleeding. CO2 gas expansion, pressure buildup. As dry ice warms, it turns directly from a solid to CO2 gas, sublimation. Inside the stomach, even a small amount can release a large volume of gas rapidly. The stomach and intestines can become overpressurized, causing rupture or perforation, a life-threatening emergency.